Hello, I am Mont, although there's a good chance this video is coming up, well, before or after Christmas. Either way, season's greetings to you all, and I hope you had or will have a nice Christmas and got loads of good stuff. This video is just well, it's an update video, a discussion video, wherein I talk about some things I don't usually get to talk about. So you can safely skip it and not miss anything interesting, pretty much. I'm gonna cover a few topics, and I'll try and include time codes in the description and in annotations in the video, in case there is anything in particular you'd like to skip to. I mean, after all, some of these are topics I've been asked to talk about, so maybe you are the person who asked me and you want to hear that, but not the other 2 hours of me talking about random crap. First up, the Bloodborne DLC. I've been getting a lot of questions about whether or not I'll make lore videos on the topic, and by now hopefully you've seen the Gehrman and Maria video. If not, go watch it now. Either way, I'm currently unsure as to whether or not I'm going to make any more Bloodborne lore videos, period. Dark Souls 3 comes out in a few months, and most of my efforts up till then will be, well, preparing for the game. Back on topic though, I enjoyed the DLC. It added a lot of variety to Bloodborne in terms of gear and weapons, which is nice. It had like, what, 15 new weapons or some, I don't know. It added a lot of weapons and Bloodborne needed that. Did it add enough new armor? No, I don't think it did, and Bloodborne still kind of has the problem of which version of this leather trench coat thing do you want to wear? But it's a lot better than it was, and that's, that's all we can really ask for. One of my biggest complaints with Bloodborne was the lack of gear, the variety. I can pick up Dark Souls to this day, and I can make a character that feels somewhat new, even though I've probably made like, at least like 30 characters. But with Bloodborne, it to me lacks that replayability. But in general, I think it's the best DLC that FromSoft have made, and I hope future content will further improve upon what we've seen. What else has happened in 2015? Not all that much on the gaming front. Bloodborne would probably be my game of the year, but I hesitate to even call it that, as I like to keep game of the year for a game I really got into, and honestly there hasn't been anything like that for me this year. But if I had to pick something of the games that have come out in this year, it's Bloodborne. The actual game of the year, of course, was Witcher 3, or what was it? Her Story Witcher 3, or that was weird, but yeah, Witcher 3, something I've not played. To be honest, the game as a whole looks interesting, but the combat looks so unappealing that it completely killed my interest in the game. If you're going to be playing a game for like 50 hours, 100 hours, the combat, which generally takes up a lot of the time in the game, it has to be satisfying, and The Witcher 2 combat was not satisfying at all to me, and frankly, Witcher 3 looks like more of the same. I don't like how Geralt, whatever his name is, Gerald, I don't like how he's supposed to be this excellent beast hunter type guy, and yet he fights like he just kind of spins around, like he pirouettes around. It's like, what, you know what, that looks stupid, like you should be fighting in a dance festival, Euro contest, Euro dance, Euro thing. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but basically I don't like the combat in The Witcher 3. In fairness, I have not played Witcher 3, so I might be talking out of my butthole there, but I didn't like Witcher 2 combat, and it looks a lot like that. Is it bad combat? I can't say if it's bad or not, but it doesn't personally appeal to me. I'd like to compare it though with Fallout 4. You might be thinking, what the hell? Fallout 4 and Witcher 3 have nothing in common whatsoever, but here's the thing, I would say Witcher 3 is probably a much better game than Fallout 4. It's probably a lot more high quality and polished, and I'm not really going to defend Fallout 4 because it's a piece of trash, but it's a piece of trash that I've spent like 50 plus hours in, because it's a fun piece of trash, and the combat, it is kind of bad, but it's satisfying. I like punching someone and then watching them explode, what can I say? I've also had a lot of people telling me I simply must play Undertale. At time of writing I've put maybe an hour into the game and it just isn't my kind of thing, and you know what? That's alright. This might sound odd coming from me, but story-driven games aren't really my thing. If I want a good story, I'll read a book, or perhaps watch a movie. Something like that, you know? Most video game stories come out bad. They're like equivalent to bad novels or B-list, C-list movies, and yet they get a lot of praise. I mean, let's take a good example, the Uncharted series. I have nothing against the series, by the way. A lot of people seem to think I have some sort of vendetta against it, which I don't. I just don't really care for it much. The stories in these games are like... Imagine they were not games, but movies. Nobody would really care. They would make average movies, yet... average in other mediums, when put into gaming, apparently becomes amazing. But, you know what, I digress. The reason I so appreciate Dark Souls is that it uses a form of storytelling that video games excel at. Visual storytelling. You might be thinking, what are you talking about, Silvermont? There is no visual storytelling in Dark Souls. You just pick up an item and then you read the description. That's boring. That's dumb. And, yeah, if the story was only told through the items, that would be kind of stupid, but what I mean by visual storytelling is quite literally storytelling that is done visually. Like, if you look at a place in Dark Souls, you can tell what has happened there quite often. Like, it might be as simple as the bridge with the dragon, which has burning bodies on it, or... You know, it's not something I want to go too in-depth on here, but there aren't many games, or indeed studios, who make games that can get this right, from my experience. But that is the type of story I enjoy in video games. Left 4 Dead is actually an interesting example of that. There's like, how many cutscenes are there in Left 4 Dead? If you think of Left 4 Dead, you don't think, that game has a good story, or an interesting story, or whatever. You probably don't even think it has a story, but there is a story in Left 4 Dead, and you can probably read, like, comics or stuff like that, but who cares about that? I like the storytelling that you can get in Left 4 Dead when you're not screaming and teabagging the witch or whatever. It is there, especially in, like, the No Mercy campaign, with, like, the hospital and stuff. There's little touches, but I like it. But first and foremost, the gameplay has to be there, and Undertale's gameplay isn't really for me. The story, it's also just not my kind of thing. But as I said, that is fine. If you like Undertale, good for you. And one definitely positive thing I can say about Undertale is that it is nice to see an actual indie game get this much recognition, I suppose. When I say actual indie game, I mean it's a game like made and published by like what, 1 or 2 people. Not these games where it's like, oh yeah, we're totally indie. We're published by Microsoft, exclusively for Microsoft or Sony or whatever, and our team is made up of like 30 people, but we're so indie and cool and hip. And it's like, what? What is even an indie game these days? Surely it means you are publishing and making your own game, not you're being published by Microsoft, like the biggest company in the world. But you know, that's a topic I don't care to go into right now, but generally when someone says indie game, my reaction is to jump out the nearest window, because quite a lot of the time it is just an excuse for mediocre or bad games that you have to like excuse their badness because they're indie and they're fighting against the system even though they're part of the system. And that's why I jump out of the window. Preferably if the window is open so I don't get glass in my eyeballs. But on a more chill note, I've been playing a lot of Fallout 4, and man, I could write an essay of considerable size picking that game apart. Oh wait, this was meant to be chill, wasn't it? Oh well. But you know, for some reason I enjoy Fallout 4. That's the weird thing though. I fully believe it is possible to enjoy something that is bad. Whether it's objectively bad or subjectively bad, doesn't really make a difference. Fallout 4, the Mortal Kombat movie, my own writing, they all kinda suck, but I enjoy them, you know? I get a few comments now and then from people who assume I hate Bloodborne because of the way I talk about it. I mean, especially after that Chosen Undead vs Good Hunter thing. Oh, you're so biased. It's like, well, not really. I mean, sorry, but Good Hunter can't beat Counterpokes, end of story. But I don't hate Bloodborne. It's not true at all. It's just, I am capable of criticizing things that I enjoy. That's not meant to be like a boast either. Like, oh yes, I can do this, no one else. But it feels like a lot of people take things very black and white. You either love something completely and overlook its flaws, or you hate it and you want it to die, and when you jump out of a window, you make sure that you land on it. I suppose it also doesn't help that I've never made a review for Dark Souls, or Dark Souls 2, or Demon Souls. I would be just as critical of those as I was of Bloodborne in my Bloodborne review. It's not because I hate Bloodborne. I mean, why would I hate Bloodborne? Like, there's no reason to hate it. It's a good game. It's a great game, but to me, there are problems in the game, and I will talk about them. I think it's important to highlight and focus on negative aspects, otherwise how else are you going to know what needs to be improved? Although I get that negativity is obviously not something people like hearing, whether it's about them personally or something they enjoy. If you like Mario Kart 8, which is the first game I saw when I looked up at my game collection, if you like Mario Kart 8 and I say it sucks, you may get offended. Which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But in the end, I think it comes down to personality. I'm the sort of person who is best taught very harshly. If a teacher is trying to be my friend, I'm gonna treat them like my friend, and I don't treat my friends very nicely. I'm very mean to my friends. But yeah, if a teacher's trying to be my friend, I'm gonna treat them like a friend, and not as an authority figure. And authority figures need to have an aura of respect. But respecting someone and liking someone are not the same thing at all, to me. But that's just me, you know? Good example I can think of, actually. When I first picked up and started playing Gears of War 2 back in 2008, whenever it came out, I was rubbish at the multiplayer, because Gears of War has a very high Gears of War has a very high skill ceiling, and beginners get absolutely crushed by veterans. You have no idea, unless you've played Gears of War, in which case you do. There was this one guy who sent me a message after a match. He was on my team, by the way, and he was like, why did I have to get paired with someone as rubbish as you? And you know what, that kind of pissed me off. I mean, it was true what he said. I was bad, and I could understand why he was annoyed, but it helped me too. It motivated me, as I subsequently spent like 1 trillion hours playing Gears of War 2, and I reached like, I think I was in the top 1% players in Gears of War 3. And it's not all because of that guy, but that was a large driving force behind it. If someone tells me I suck, and if I do suck, it will probably motivate me. If I suck and someone goes, oh, it's okay, you tried your best, I'll be like, yeah, whatever. If I suck and someone tells me I suck, and I know that it kind of upset them, that makes me not want to suck. Does that make sense? It motivated me to get better, to prove them wrong. But yeah, that's me, and I'm kind of weird. That was a weird tangent. What about you though? Do you prefer strict, harsh teachers who push you relentlessly, or kind teachers who are slow and patient? Granted, when I say I prefer that, it's not like I like the teacher who's being an ass, but it's probably who will help me learn, shall we say. Right, that was another kind of topic that was not very chill. This is meant to be happy Christmas video, so let's talk about something nice, which would be you guys, mostly. Most of you guys, that is. So I'm sure you've seen a lot of YouTube comment sections and they're absolutely horrible, to say nothing of Twitch chat, which is endless memes everywhere, and You know, that's fine for Twitch, but no, I think sometimes actual discussion is better than just posting memes constantly, which, I mean, 4chan exists, you can go to 4chan and do that. Do I do that? I don't know. What's 4chan? I have no idea. But yeah, you guys, I hesitate to say cultivate, but you do a nice job of keeping things pretty chill in the comments section, and I appreciate that. I like that we can talk about things, whether it's, even if it's something as ultimately inconsequential as Dark Souls lore, I like that we can talk about it without getting too upset, and without people getting angry and calling other people words that I will not speak. It's the main reason I make videos, after all. I don't make videos to... well, I almost said something bad then. I don't make videos to stroke my own ego, shall we say. Some people seem to think I do, but I don't. I'm actually a pretty shy person, but I mean, I'm shy, but I do have a very large ego. But I don't need it stroked by other people. I'm perfectly capable of stroking my own ego. But it's you guys, generally speaking, that motivate me to make videos. Now, having said that, don't combine this with the last section and think that you need to be really harsh and start abusing me to make better videos. It would probably work, but I don't want you to do it. In that sense, you have to leave constructive criticism. I mean, criticism is welcome, obviously, just be polite, otherwise I might kick you in the face. Ah, delicious water. Anyway, that bit was unscripted entirely, because I looked at my script and I'm like, oh wait, I'm halfway through this script, and it's mostly been kind of negative stuff. Yeah, so I went off script for a while. Ooh, that sounds pretty hardcore, doesn't it? Yeah, let's move on, having said thank you to you guys for being a pretty nice community and generally just nice people to hang out with and talk with. Talk to, same thing, it's fine. Next up, the topic of collaborations with other Souls uploaders. This gets brought up quite often. I think some people in the community have this idea in their mind that a lot of the uploaders have a secret circle wherein we all hang out and stuff. I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, I'm not part of it. It is very hard to make it on YouTube, so a lot of people will form circles or groups to help self-promote and cross-promote their content. For example, if you have two people and they say, oh, I want to make a Dark Souls channel, and the other guy goes, oh, so do I. Let's, I'll talk about your videos, you talk about mine, and we'll send links to them on Twitter and blah blah blah, all that good stuff. Hell, I tried it in the past too, but anytime I reached out to someone, I was met with no response, so I gave up. And this was all when my channel was just starting out, so I imagine people were like, who the hell is this guy? He's got like 1 subscriber, I'm not giving him the time of day. That's the noise YouTubers make when they reject other YouTubers. They just go, stop it. Either way, I don't really maintain much contact with the other Souls uploaders. Sometimes one messages me on Twitter or email or whatever about a collaboration, and most of the time I'll help out if I've got the time and if I don't hate them from the bottom of my soul, but it's not something I'm really too interested in when it comes to seeking it out. For the most part, I'm content to let them work on their stuff whilst I work on mine. So do I feel competitive against them? No, it's not even that. I am a very competitive person, but that's largely constrained to video games. I don't care if someone has more subscribers and views than I do for the most part. Although I'd be lying if sometimes I don't get jealous. Wait, what? No. I would be lying if I said that I never get jealous, is what I'm trying to say. If that's the right word. Maybe jealousy isn't the right word, but It can be a little disheartening to see a related video crop up on the same subject that I've covered. So, like, I don't know, if maybe I've made a video on, I don't know, Gammon, for example, and I'm really proud of it, and that video has, like, 1 view, then I see some other uploader, like, Mont has uploaded a video on Gammon, and they have, like, 500 times the views of mine. That can be disheartening, sure, but a lot of the time you have to remember that it's not strictly a judge of quality how many views you get. I mean, God, some of my worst videos have the most views, so I know that all too well. So it's important that you don't dwell on that, and that right there is some advice. If you are trying to be a YouTuber yourself, don't dwell on views and stuff, and try not to compare yourself with other people, because there's always going to be someone with more views and subscribers than you, but that's something that you should work towards, not be spiteful of, shall we say. I don't know. That is just the nature of the beast. Comparing subscribers and views is pretty stupid in my opinion, as is trying to gauge quality by that number. I've spoken about it briefly before, but I don't really watch other Souls uploaders. Not that I have anything against them. I don't not watch them as some sort of protest. It's just I don't really watch people in general. You know who I'm subscribed to on my YouTube viewing account? Epic Name Bro, and 2 of my real life friends. I was also subscribed to another person who made Gears of War stuff, but when I lost interest in Gears of War, I unsubscribed to them. I've always been that way, but since I started focusing more on my own channel, it has also become somewhat of a conscious decision. I find myself watching less and less of Epic Name Bro's videos even, because, and it's nothing to do with his videos getting better or worse or whatever, it's simply because I don't want to be subconsciously inspired by him. Which is funny, because obviously his channel is the inspiration behind mine in the first place. I'm not copying, like, any other YouTuber in existence. Only Epic Name Bro. I mean, people accuse me of copying all manner of people, but I've never been accused of copying Epic Name Bro, which is weird because that would kind of be true. He is the original Souls uploader, and the rest of us are pretty much here because of him. There's nothing wrong with that by any means, but it's obviously going to have an impact on you. If you watch something, that is. Example, if I watch a video wherein Epic Name Bro is talking about an area or a boss, that's going to colour my own views on the subject, right? Let's say Epic Name Bro releases a video where he's talking about, I don't know, the doll, and he mentions, oh, by the way, as I worked on the guide, I know this fact about the doll. And if I hear that, it's obviously going to stick in my mind, and it could change my opinions and views on the doll. And if I wanted to, like, regurgitate Epic Name Bro's views and opinions, I think that would make my channel a lot less interesting, because I want to present to you my opinion, my view, uncoloured by anything other than my own experience. Does that make sense? I mean, hopefully. It's also the reason I don't really read much in the way of lore theories on forums and the like. And it's not like I think my opinions are better than Epic Name Bro's or anyone else's. It's because I think one of the main draws to me of the Souls games is how so many people do have their own opinions. Like, if you ask 5 different people who say Priscilla's parents are, you might get 5 different answers, although maybe that wasn't the best example because most people generally think it's Guinevere and Seath or whatever. But hopefully you know what I mean. Everyone tends to have their own take on the Souls universe, and I believe that is intentional by the developers, and I cannot commend them enough for that, because I love it. I love talking about theories and things, even if it's something stupid like, is Goku better than Superman in a fight? And probably not, because, I mean, geez, did you see, like, Revival of F or whatever? Goku got absolutely wrecked by some guy with a crappy little laser cannon. I mean, damn, Goku. You gotta step your game up, my son. But I hope that doesn't come across as self-important or pretentious and the like. I'll admit, that is something I do worry about very infrequently. I obviously don't know how I come across as a person to you, because in my lore videos, you're pretty much seeing me talking about lore and nothing else. And lore can be a kind of serious subject, but I guess I worry that people think I'm really serious and self-obsessed and self-important or something. I don't spend every waking second worrying about what other people think about me, but it is human nature to have those types of concerns. And it's one that only grows worse if you are even remotely famous. Imagine googling yourself and finding thousands of results from people you've never met, who think you're the worst human being imaginable, even though they don't really know anything about you. That's what it must be like for actual celebrities. Which I'm not, obviously, and thank God for that. I'm sure they try their best not to Google themselves for that matter though. But getting back on topic, whatever the hell topic this is, lore is a serious matter most of the time, especially considering the nature of these games. And considering that's largely what exposure I get, I do worry a little bit that people think I'm like that, you know? But if you're making YouTube videos, you have to be self-aware, you have to be aware of your own flaws, and be prepared to poke fun at them at yourself, and not take yourself too seriously. Otherwise you'll not be able to handle the abuse you get. And even with 50,000 subscribers or whatever, I get a fair amount of abuse, and that grows exponentially with how many people watch your videos. Which I must admit is one reason I don't aggressively pursue channel growth. Channel growth, oh man. On the rare occasion I do watch videos of like gaming stuff, I hate it. Hate it when people are telling me to leave a like, comment, subscribe, or whatever. I also hate those 30-second long intros with horrible music some people have. Couldn't you at least put that at the end of your video? I really don't need to see your rotating logo with horrible music for 30 seconds. But you know, everyone has a different version of integrity, their moral code even. And for me, I like to be as transparent as possible, as legitimate as possible. That's why I don't accept payments to cover games. And if I were to do that, I would make sure to mention that the coverage is sponsored by whoever, whatever. It is something that frustrates me about so many YouTubers and the media in general. I hate how shameless they can be at times, and I hate how YouTube even promotes this in some ways, saying like, oh yeah, try putting the product in the background of your video. And it's like, no, what if I put you in the background of your own life? That was meant to be some sort of threat, but it didn't really work out. If you're being paid to promote or cover something, I think you owe it to yourself and your viewers to let them know. Don't feign interest, don't be like, oh hey guys, there's this mega cool game / website I randomly chanced upon. If the publishers are paying you to talk about it, just admit that. Or don't, I'm not the police. But yeah, the idea of doing that just makes me uncomfortable. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with taking payments to talk about a game. Like, if they say, oh, we'll pay you if you talk about our game because you have a big fanbase, blah, blah, blah. I don't think there's anything really wrong with that, as long as you are transparent. But it's not something I am personally comfortable with doing. I mean, maybe if it was a game I was probably going to talk about anyway, if they're going to pay me, I'll probably take some money, sure. Pay me to talk about Dark Souls, please. It'll be fine, it'll be great, I'll become a millionaire. At the same time, there are many great ways to make money on the internet by doing things like that. And I probably should do more of them, so that I can obtain all of the coins. Trying to balance integrity, and whilst also making a living, it's a tough equation. Not one encountered in many jobs, but maybe I'm being too negative again. YouTube really is an enjoyable job. I love it. I enjoy thinking up videos and I enjoy making them. Stupid hardware and software issues notwithstanding, is the perfect job for someone who is shy and antisocial, both of which I am. Which might sound weird. How is it a perfect job when the point of the job is pretty much to put myself in the spotlight, and a lot of the time make a fool of myself? Good question. It provides an outlet, simply put. I can only speak for myself, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of other YouTubers who are doing similar content to me have or have had similar issues. Making these videos really has helped with the issue of being shy. Not that it really was an issue, so to speak. If you look at my first videos, like the first playthrough of Dark Souls, compare that with my latest stuff, I think you can see how much more comfortable I am. Which probably doesn't and shouldn't matter to you as a viewer, but to me, as a human being, it is very gratifying. Back to the collab thing. Most of the time I prefer to collaborate with people I actually know and regularly communicate with. My recent playthrough, for example, with Doug and David. Neither of them are exactly Souls uploaders, or like famous or whatever. Making videos with them doesn't promote my own content. It's not like they're gonna bring in the big views or anything like that. But that's not important to me. What is important is that I enjoy myself and record something that I think is genuine. Would you, here's a good example. Would you rather hang out with your co-workers or your friends? I mean, sometimes your co-workers are your friends, but you probably know what I mean. I'm in the somewhat unique position of having the chance to work with friends. But yeah, to answer the original question, will I be doing more collabs with other uploaders in the future? I'm not sure, you'd have to ask them. That covers most of the questions I was asked to discuss, and I don't know if you can hear, but my voice is starting to go. Again, it happened back when I was recording my Gammon video. It's because I'd been talking so much the last few days whilst doing that. And if you talk, and talk, and talk, and talk, and talk, and talk, your voice is gonna die. But what about the future? I think next year is going to be largely Dark Souls 3 content, and my enunciation of that past sentence was horrible, but yeah. Dark Souls 3 lore, videos, and the like. Speaking of which, not speaking of Dark Souls, well yeah, kinda, but speaking of being a freak, back in my earlier videos, and you might see this if you go back and watch some of them, I made a very pronounced effort to speak very slowly and clearly. Not that, like, stupidly exaggerated, but I don't know, I just find it funny because these days perhaps because I'm more comfortable with recording and stuff, I have a habit of talking as I would when I talk to friends and stuff, and sometimes that can result in me talking really, really freaking fast. Which is funny to me. Probably not to you if you can't understand me. But yeah, I still want to cover Demon's Souls at some point and create lore videos for it. But it might have to wait a little longer. I've got a Countdown to Dark Souls 3 playlist in the works. And when I said Countdown to Dark Souls 3, I kinda shot my hands out to the side, kind of did jazz hands. But yeah, it's going to be a video a week in the 10 weeks leading up to Dark Souls 3. It'll include some lore stuff, Fight Club, a challenge, and hopefully some Dark Souls 3 pre-release content. But I can't promise that. It all depends on the skill of the run. It all depends on Bandai Namco, not on old and obscure Zone of the Enders references. I've also got some other tentative plans. A Ninja Gaiden 2 playthrough, a Dark Souls Versus series, a bit like the Chosen what? The Chosen Hunter, the Chosen Undead versus Hunter stuff, but like Ornstein versus the Penetrator. Oh man. To this day I still love that we have a boss called Penetrator. But yeah, a series wherein various characters are pitted against each other. The main thing stopping me from doing that at the moment is I'm not sure how to do it. How am I meant to do a video on Ornstein versus Penetrator when I can't really highlight them fighting each other other than showing clips of me fighting both of them? If I could mod it so I can hack in Penetrator and make him fight Ornstein, that would be fun. But I can't, so I won't. Probably got your hopes up for nothing. Dragon's Dogma is also coming out on PC, and I would love to do a playthrough of that. But I'm suspicious of Capcom hammering videos with strikes, which has happened in the past. Dragon's Dogma was my Game of the Year 2012, and I'd love to cover it some more. Well, that's about it. This video ended up being very long, very rambly, for which I apologise, but then again, if you've watched this far, you've only yourself to blame in the end. Oh dear. Unless somebody is forcing you to watch this, in which case I apologise profusely. Very good indeed, eaten by. I have a Patreon page in case you want to give me money. There's also PayPal and other stuff if you really want to give me all of your gold coins. And of course, be sure to check out the Redbubble page of the artist who does all the art on my channel. She has lots of things up for sale there, and she even gets a little cut of the money from each sale, which helps her survive. Do I get a cut? No. But that's fine, I don't mind. Alright, let's talk Star Wars The Force Awakens. I kind of had to record this bit on a separate day, as when I recorded the first stuff Star Wars was now, but whatever. I'm not going to go into any huge spoilers, like, I don't know, Luke fuses with Chewbacca and fights the Emperor who revived into R2-D2 or something. But there will be some minor spoilers and the like. So if you've not seen the film yet, but have plans to, and care about spoilers, you can close out the video now. Right, so I'm gonna start with what I liked about the movie, and then touch on what I didn't like. And I have to keep this brief because I only have a few minutes of video left. So, the design of the movie, the sound design, how things looked and all that, the lightsabers, blasters, all that stuff, sounded great. The movie looked nice, the special effects were good, and there were a few pretty decent shots, although there were also some kind of weird ones. And it was nice to see, well, how should I put it? It's nice to have scenes that are lit by the lightsabers. I don't know if you noticed, but in a lot of the other Star Wars movies, the lightsabers don't actually generate any light. Like, if you hold up a light in front of you, it's probably gonna cast some light onto your face, your skin, you know? And I really like it when the scenes are lit just by the lightsabers, because they work best in dark environments. It's something I find incredibly cool, and I feel has been criminally underused in the movies. Though the actual lightsaber battles, I think they found a nice balance between the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, in terms of how the fights should be. They weren't as slow and methodical as the original, but nor are they as frantic and over-choreographed as the prequels. Overall, the movie was fine, it was entertaining, it had some good comedic moments without coming off too cheesy. Most of the time, anyway. But, and you knew there was going to be a but. Why? Why does this movie exist? Well, I mean, we know the answer, money, but I just don't see the point of it. The movie is essentially A New Hope, with a slightly different story and better special effects. That's boring to me. The plot was predictable, the characters... You know, I just didn't really care about most of them. The character development is almost non-existent, the motivations don't really make sense. The characters like each other because they have to like each other. They are friends because they have to be friends. There is no real reason for a lot of this stuff to happen. There is just pure coincidence again and again. So we have Finn. Oh, you're a coward, you don't like fighting, you want to abandon the First Order because in your first real battle you got, like, freaked out. But then suddenly you're fine with killing the bad guys, the people who you spent your entire life with. Okay, that makes sense. And why are the bad guys so 2D? I mean, it's not really a big issue, but it does feel like we are forced to accept them being bad just because. They even have a moment where all the stormtroopers who have been, like, raised from birth to follow orders and all that, for some reason, they are given a speech by big bad guy where he basically goes, look, I'm Hitler, and they even like raise all their arms up like, Heil Hitler. It's like, okay, cool, we get it. You're trying to tell us that they're like Nazis and Nazis are bad. No. The whole resistance and first order thing is stupid. Doesn't make sense at all. So the Republic overthrew the Empire, and the resistance are allied with the Republic, even if it's not really official. So why are they called the Resistance? I mean, if anything, the First Order should be the Resistance. What? It's like they just wanted to go, oh, they're still the underdogs there, because we can't have the good guys being in a situation of power. Which would have actually been interesting, to give them sort of the same sort of choices that the Empire faced and to go a different way. But whatever, no, being interesting would be too bad. We just needed some weird excuse to go back to A New Hope. I'm sure there's like a weird explanation in like the novel or the comic where it's like, well actually, the blah blah blah. But it's not in the movie, so it doesn't really matter. There's a lot of weird stuff we just have to sort of accept and not think too hard about, and I don't really have an issue with that. I mean, when they shoot the giant, not Death Star, for some reason everyone in the galaxy apparently can see the light. I mean, it's not like light takes time to move or anything. So maybe it's moving through hyperspace at hyperspeed. Then surely it would be, you wouldn't be able to see it? But see, that's nitpicking. I'm not going to dwell on that. But there was also some really stupid dialogue at times. I mean, people complain about Anakin in the prequels, like the it's because I'm in love with you. No, it's because I'm so in love with you, and his hatred of sand. But the villain here, he has a moment where it's really cringeworthy dialogue. It was the I'm being torn apart that line. That was terrible, I'm sorry, but no. I mean, also, why is the bad guy there? Mild spoilers, but at the end of the film, the dude says, oh, the bad guy's training is not complete, essentially. So, why would you dispatch someone who is not only half trained, but also liable to stop being, like, is liable to go back to the light? There was literally no purpose for Kylo Ren to be there. Nothing he did could not have been accomplished by Hux and Phasma. So you remember in Empire Strikes Back, Luke left his training early because he wanted to save his friends. He had no choice from his perspective. He was the only one who could help them. Whereas the First Order are doing a pretty good job of beating everything without Ren. And Ren being there just kind of screws everything up, which maybe that's intentional because he is a bit of a screw up and he's meant to be like a Darth Vader fanboy, but I think honestly that would be just justifications, whereas the real reason he's actually there is because they need someone, they need a bad guy with a lightsaber, and they need someone who's going to be like Darth Vader, because you've got to sell toys, right? Speaking of selling toys, what about Captain Phasma? Captain Advertisement, wasted character, what was the point? Remember the part where the Stormtrooper with like the baton came in and like tonked Finn on the head? Why wasn't that her? That would have given, it would have established her presence. It would have established her as a threat. Nope, just some random dude, and she doesn't serve any purpose in the film that I can think of. And there are a few parts in the film that I don't understand why they're there. Why is the scene with Han Solo and the stupid action scene with the aliens there? See, an action scene, and don't worry, I love action movies, they're like my favourite, but action scenes have to have a point, they have to have a purpose. This is one of the problems that the prequels had. They just started throwing in so many action scenes, so many lightsaber fights, that you become numb to it. It's like, oh look, it's the 20th lightsaber fight in this, like, 2-hour movie. Please stop that. Ugh. And then, speaking of weird or bad characters, the main character, Rey, is an incredible Mary Sue. I can't even... No, I mean, Finn was fine for the most part. He was a bit illogical and kind of badly written at times. Poe was fine, but he wasn't really in it much, so there's not really anything to complain about. But Rey was terrible. The performance wasn't very good. It was kind of bland. And wow, is she a Mary Sue? It's like, oh, should we root for Luke Skywalker, the plucky underdog, who, like, he's trained hard and he's worked hard and all that? No, let's root for Rey, who just closes her eyes for 10 seconds and then is able to beat Kylo Ren. But yes, he was bleeding, so but yeah, no, she was a Mary Sue. I mean, in summary though, I feel like this movie is executed just fine. There's no point in it existing though. The idea behind it is boring. If you ask someone in the 80s or 90s, what do you want from the next Star Wars movie? They probably said, oh, I want to know more about Anakin Skywalker before he was a bad guy. Or, I want to know about the Clone Wars. And the prequel trilogy gave us that. I think the prequels were good ideas, mostly, but poorly executed. And I think they could have and should have remade the prequel trilogy and make a prequel trilogy that didn't suck. Because that's a far more interesting story than let's just play it safe and do what we know will be successful and popular because we're pretty much going to remake the first movie. But hey, that's Star Wars for you. They need to make the movies so they can sell the toys and the lunchboxes and the clothes and the makeup and the everything you can possibly imagine that they can brand. Yeah, I mean, no, the movie was fine. It was entertaining. I just don't see the point in it. I felt nothing other than mild frustration that all this money, all these special effects, all this effort went into something that doesn't need to exist. It has no message, no soul, no heart. When I watched the movie, all I really saw was Disney trying to sell toys. It was safe, it was boring, and it tried to appeal to nostalgia by giving people what they've already had. Which is fine, like there's nothing like wrong with that, but I don't like it, personally. No thank you. See you in 2016, or 2016. You take care.